I'm recording this in case anyone finds it. My name is David Paulson, but everyone calls me Dave. Life has always been a challenge for me. When I was 4 years old, I had trouble seeing and my eyes always hurt. I told my parents this, thinking I'd get migraines and I needed glasses, but that didn't work. When I was taken to the hospital, they tested me and I had tumours behind my eyes. And if they didn't operate, I would die. So they operated, also meaning I'd go blind. So I lost my sight at a really young age, always getting picked on and bullied for being different. For 14 years I lived like this, until I heard they were doing human trials for eye transplants. I volunteered and I got my parents to sign a consent form for me. I was 18 by then, so I could make my own decisions. They tested me first, and then they let me know what I was getting myself in for. The operation was a success. For the first time in 14 years, I could see again. The last thing I ever saw was the surgeon I was going under, and I could see my parents and, well, the last thing I saw when I was 4 years old was going under. But for the first time in 14 years, I could see again. I could see my parents, I could see bright colours. I returned to college a week later. I could finally see the three guys who'd been picking on me. I told them that I can see you now, and I know what you look like, and I should not get picked on again. Life was looking up for me. I even met a nice girl called Kristen. We became friends, and she later became my girlfriend. Finally, things were looking up for me. I still got picked on, but I learned to live with that by then. One day, in class at college, I was just having class until I saw everything in red. Just highlighted in red. I rubbed my eyes and everything was fine. Later that day, after college, I went to the cinema with my girlfriend Kristen, and when I was there, I felt like there was some kind of evil presence. Thinking it was just paranoia talking, we did go and see a scary movie after all. After cinema, we went for a walk in the park. It was sunny pre-evening, so the sun was still bright, and I looked up at the sun and I saw standing on a hilltop what looked like a tall man, saying, "Who's that?" Kristen asking, "Who's what?" I looked again and the tall man was gone. One day at college, I was in the boys' toilets and I was washing my hands. Then the three boys who bullied me walked in and used this as an advantage for insults, saying things about me and Kristen. Insults on me I could handle, but insults on Kristen, my girlfriend? No. They said things like, "Your girlfriend sells blowjobs, she's a whore." I then saw them butchered in blood everywhere. Then I started fighting them until a college tutor came in and broke it up. I went home and fell asleep. I started having nightmares. I remember one where I was walking in college, bodies everywhere, until I felt the presence of the same presence I felt at the cinema. I turned around and I saw him standing there. A tall, faceless man in a black suit and a red tie. I then woke up in a cold sweat and I didn't get any better. I started seeing more things in red and blood, and I got so bad that I was taken to a psychiatrist. Even they didn't know what was going on with me. I started drawing pictures. Well, they weren't pictures, they were just all redness. And I kept seeing people covered in blood or dead. It was driving me insane. So insane I started to scare people. Kirsten, she was even scared. She told me she couldn't do this anymore and broke up with me. And then that's when the bullying really started getting worse. Oh, it did. I started having more visions of redness and death and gore. I wanted to drive my own eyes out. That night I was sleeping and I woke up after having a nightmare. I then looked out of the window and saw him again, a tall man. I got up and went outside and asked, "What does he want?" He told me in my head, he can help me see again. So I went to my garden shed and grabbed a spade with a long handle. I could use a cane. The handle was, of course, as a weapon, and I got some secateurs. And then went into my kitchen and got the first aid box and some bandages, and then got the secateurs, and just like that, I gouged my eyes out. First the left, then the right. Thinking who the fuck owned these eyes. But they were donated by an anonymous donor. I then heard my mum coming down. I couldn't see her, I could hear her heart beating, her breathing. I knew she was scared. She asked, "What have I done to myself?" I told her I could see again. And then I stamped on my eyes. And then I charged at my mother, beating her, punching her, and just to finish off, I drove her eyes out with my thumbs. My dad came down and I heard him. He was shocked and horrified, and then I did the same to him as I did my mum. I then took the bandages and wrapped them around my face, over my empty eye sockets, and then I got my spade and used it as a cane and as a weapon and put on my hoodie and started my revenge. The next day, I could hear my girlfriend Kirsten, my ex now. I could smell her perfume, I could hear her voice. She was with another guy. And just like that, I jumped out and killed the new boyfriend. I heard her scream and she ran so far. I threw my spade like a boomerang and I heard it split her head. I couldn't see her, but I could feel her life slipping away. I couldn't see, but I knew she was dead. Later, the 3 guys that picked on me, I knew that they like to take a shortcut through the woods and go fishing, and that's where they hang out. So then I hid behind a tree and waited for them. And I heard them, and just like that, smack! I knocked them out with my spade, and at first they were pissed off, going, "What the fuck?" But then I knocked them out and tied them to a tree. The good news was, I'm not going to kill them. The bad news was, they're going to wish I did. So I got their fishing gear, and I took the fish hook and pierced their eyelids with it. Then tied it with barbed wire to hold their eyes open whilst they were tied to the tree. Screaming like bitches, begging me not to. I just danced in delight as it was music to my ears. I then got some worms and I put them straight in their eyes. Then that's when I heard a crow fly down and peck them out. He pecked them out, and then the crow flew to my shoulder. Even gave me one eye from them. And I just ate it and crunched it up. It was very nice. It was really nice. Then I heard something. A presence from behind the tree. Some tall, black, inhuman-like tentacles. It was the tall man. Me, at this point, I knew him as the Slender Man. I told him that David Dave Paulson no longer exists. I am now Blind Dave. And I told the Slender Man as he came from behind the tree, I can see you. I can see him. I can see. I can see.